want to tell you a story. This is a story of tragedy, a story of regret, a story of betrayal, a story of triumph.
Wait, hold on. Is this Risk of Rain Run or Risk of Rain, or Risk of Rain 1 or Risk of Rain 2 or both?
A story of two. The Risk of Rain games are not necessarily known for their story, as it isn't really at the forefront of their gameplay,
Both.
but
Okay.
hidden behind dozens of detailed logs and environmental clues, Risk of Rain actually tells a surprisingly deep and incredibly tragic story of two brothers, and how their strained relationship affected the world they found themselves in. Today, I want to tell you my interpretation of this story, including everything from Risk of Rain 1 to the Seekers of the Storm DLC. Keep in mind that the lore is generally
That's a
quite
DLC.
vague, and my
I have the
idea
Seeker
of any
DLC.
given event can easily be incorrect.
Well, I don't.
That being
My
said,
game share does.
I think it's time we dive straight into it. This is the entire lore of Risk of Rain. We don't know
Is this like a Remus Romulus situation? You know, so like the two guys, they fought, and then Romulus created Rome, and then Remus created Reem, or whatever, or they were fighting over the name of the city, and then Romulus killed him or something. Is it kind of like that?
exactly
or what?
where or when the brothers came to be, but we do know one story related to their origin. As children, they were told to stay away from gravity wells. Naturally curious, they would eventually disobey this warning and
Mithrix.
seek them out. They just wanted to know.
Is
At
Mithrix one of the
first,
brothers?
They threw in stuff like dirt, stone, keyfruit, and starseed. All of the things they dropped were swallowed up. The gravity wells swallowed anything. Not just physical matter, like glass, mud, or silver, but forces like wind, heat, and pulsar radiation. One brother, Mithrix, even threw in worms, but
Mithrix is the final boss. Oh, so maybe is he the evil one? Maybe he gets sucked into the gravity well, and then he becomes evil.
only when his brother wasn't looking. Mithrix knew his brother loved worms, and it would make him sad if he knew what he was doing to them.
Like the fireworms?
Mithrix, on the other hand, didn't
Like the
really
the
care.
fireworm boss?
Curiosity overpowered his empathy. But one time, his brother was.
Hold on. I know I'm pausing so much. His curiosity overpowered his empathy. This is the that's the number one quote for a good character turning evil without noticing. For example, Anakin Skywalker. Right. Other good characters turning evil. Victor, League of Legends. Right? Yeah, he was dying, but at the same time, it's
Watching.
always
And his brother loved worms. We don't know what happened after that.
I don't know.
Maybe they left and went about their day as usual. Maybe they got into a fight. Maybe they fell into the gravity well.
Nah, Mithrix was the one
To
that
me,
was
the
betrayed.
gravity wells sound
Oh,
a
because
lot
was
like
he the one
black
that liked
holes.
worms?
And it's not the only
he the
place
one that
in the
liked
game
worms?
that seems to depict this phenomenon. Gravity concentrating, falling inward, condensing, hardening. A singularity shrinks to the point your mind inverts,
Also, how do
reversing
I,
reality. Now return.
Mute
Don't
individual
the matters
chats,
of the physical world seem trivial now?
but
Your tasks in this
leave
realm
the other
are
ones.
simple and hastened, all in an attempt to get reversed. How many times can you make this trip before
No
you are claimed by
providence.
its process?
Oh, so
Do
okay.
not let it take you. Take it instead. Here. This is the lore associated with a lunar item called Focused Convergence. It's vague, but it seems to depict a conversation between two
I remember I got that in one run, and I was really mad.
inside of what seems like a black hole.
because
I believe it is entirely possible that the
my
two brothers
whole-
fell into the gravity well
That's
and
what I
were stuck
figured.
approaching the singularity for a very, very long time. It didn't kill them though, and they didn't lose themselves either, because they still had each other. But like I said, we don't really know what happened. All we do know is that eventually, the brothers found themselves somewhere new. A planet known as Petrichor 5. The brothers spent an unknown amount of time on this planet after that, possibly centuries or even millennia. Whether they wanted to be there or not, they had no choice, as there was a sickness that would encumber them if they tried to venture
void?
past the atmosphere. The planet itself was beautiful, with
I bet
many
it's the void.
diverse landscapes and a variety of local flora and fauna. Mithrix may not have been too amused by the sights to behold, but I'm sure his brother grew very attached to the local life. Eventually, though, Mithrix has an epiphany, and he shares it with his brother.
Alright, I don't have YouTube Premium. This is a problem.
I've begun to understand our universe, the compounds that drive reality here. I've prepared a demonstration. Come look, brother. Now, look here. It's got presence and weight, round with no features, no
Yeah,
orientation. It is mass. Almost everything here is mass.
Hey, all I'm saying,
Mass is boring, but required. We can
a
take
sub goes a
mass and shape
long
it to
way.
form. Features,
If you have Twitch
angles, and
Prime,
intent.
if you have an
Look at
Amazon
the
Prime account,
planarity
you
of the
can link it to your
surfaces.
Twitch account.
This is
You get
design.
Amazon Prime or Twitch Prime for
love
free,
design.
and you get a free
Now,
sub every
volatile
single
one,
month.
a lifeline, blood, sharp yet radiant. Blood is heat. This is my blood, but there's plenty of blood in this universe. Now, be gentle.
And if YouTube, or if I get subs, then I can afford YouTube Premium, so there's no
Look
ads in
closely
my
here.
reaction videos.
Do you see it? Almost invisible, a thin film, frail. It's not in this reality, but an adjacent one. I've heard you discuss this, something you innately understood. What you describe as soul. Don't you love soul? Do you understand? It's your turn, brother. I've simply found the compounds. It is your hands that must craft value from them.
In
Who
this
said that,
lore,
Providence?
we come to the very first conclusion regarding the ideals Mithrix and his brother hold. Mithrix loves design, and his brother loves soul. However, Mithrix clarifies that without soul, design is just shaped mass, and blood is just heat. It is his brother that must craft value from the constructs Mithrix designs. So, with that in mind, the brothers begin to build. They begin constructing across Petrichor, as noted in the lore entry for Sundered Grove. Mithrix questions his brother's use of rings in the
Providence doesn't
architecture
really
and says
speak.
that triangles are much better. 3 points in 3 dimensions, no redundancies, perfectly defined. However, despite their differences, they both agree that trees are beautiful. They will have many trees. Eventually, the brothers take on the task of making guardians, beings with the purpose of protecting the planet. It was up to Mithrix to design them, of course, while his brother was responsible for realizing those designs. During the actual creation of the Guardians, Mithrix takes note of their inherent uneasiness and realizes his brother is likely putting too much soul into their construction.
What?
Mithrix prepares a demonstration for his brother, which we see in
Okay, wouldn't putting too much soul into something like wouldn't putting too much soul into something like make it more human? Like it wouldn't make it like or is it cuz like it's so soulful that it's like aware that
the
it's a
lore
machine?
for the Golem lunar chimera.
Your completions of my design are uneasy, brother. Let me show you their purpose. We begin with stone, silver, and fire. Take note of the ratios. High speed, speed is war. Twin cannons with twin exhausts, we stream their exhausts for volatility. Quadrupeds are easier and more stable, we maintain that. And that, dear brother, is it. No dance, no song. These guardians do not need soul.
Yes, one became
I believe this discussion between them was a sort of warning from Mithrix, though I am sure this was not the first of its kind. Soul is indeed very powerful, but it also leads to instability and a lack of structure. It is a dangerous and unpredictable compound to add to Guardians. At some point, Mithrix designs the Stone Titans, and of course, he tasks his brother with realizing the design. Upon its completion, he presents the Guardian to Mithrix, but something is wrong. It's misshapen and weak. Perhaps an error in the design? Mithrix calls the Guardian towards him and commands them to show their construction. The ratios are incorrect. His brother purposefully deviated from the design. Rather than creating a Stone Titan like he was supposed to, he instead created a being known as Aurelionite, the first construct to have a proper consciousness. Mithrix begins to reprimand his brother, reminding him that he had already warned his brother that a construct with an abundance of soul is unstable and frail. At best, this Guardian is an inferior servant, lacking in the correct compounds to give it the durability it was intended to have.
They need to have a consciousness.
At worst, it could be the first being on the
Mithrix
planet with the power to threaten the brother's well-being. In fear of the Guardian retaliating should they attempt to destroy it, Mithrix decides to lock them away while they're still young and naive. And Mithrix tells his brother that he will be responsible for creating the rest of the Guardian.
So then he like gets mad.
While the constructs Mithrix creates may be weak, they will, at the very least, be loyal soldiers.
Yeah, so then, okay, so the brother Providence, he gets mad. Excuse me. The brother Providence gets mad because Mithrix is telling him that they can't have a soul, but then so Providence gets mad like at the fact that they can't have a soul, because he's like, oh, everything should have a soul. I love soul, right? And then they like fight, and then
following this incident, the
Mithrix
Gilded Coast is designated as the eternal prison for the failed Guardian. It is likely that this place was selected by Mithrix but furnished by the other brother out of pity for his creation, considering the presence of many golden rings in the architecture. We know that Mithrix did not like rings, so there's no way that he put them there. Despite the inherent tragedy of being forced to lock away his own creation, unfortunately,
NGL Providence might be a little autistic. What's the beef with rings? I don't understand. Did I miss like the beef with rings?
Didn't matter how this brother felt about it. It wasn't the way Mithrix wanted things to be, and that was that. This is where we arrive at one of a few extremely vague but crucial points in this story. What we do know is that around this time, a deity, referred to with female pronouns by Mithrix, arrives at Petrichor. She is only ever referred to as she or her, so we hardly know anything about her, but Mithrix clearly respects her. We don't really know what she did while she was there, why she was there, how she got there, or really anything at all. However, it seems like her arrival was a catalyst for everything else that happens from this point forward, because the brothers learned that they weren't alone. This revelation likely inspired Mithrix, knowing that there may be even more beings like him and his brother trapped on other planets. For his brother, though, this revelation likely came with a sense of longing, knowing that countless planets home to the less fortunate certainly exist and that he may eventually be able to save them. During his time at Petrichor, he undoubtedly had fallen even further in love with the idea of soul. Over time, he would slowly begin to question his brother's ideals, whilst Mithrix would be having similar thoughts on the complete opposite end of that spectrum. Eventually, she would leave Petrichor, leaving Mithrix enthralled with the presence of one as great as him and his brother, and confusingly, leaving the other brother in a state of sadness. We don't quite have a reason as to why he would be so upset by her leaving, and this state of depression seemed to last a pretty long time. In the environment log for Prime Meridian, we see a conversation between the two brothers that seems to take place pretty soon after her departure.
Brother, raise your melancholic head. She has left, but she shall return. Witness what I shall give to you and her. They are the start of 3 great works, a gift for us all. I see your sadness.
I feel like
brother.
Risk of Rain music
Your
will put me to
inattention
sleep.
hurts the designs we build. I build for us not only a sign of our friendship,
I might
but
try that
tools for
tonight,
making our
'cause I
wait
had-
easier. Yes,
How much
3
caffeine is in
great
a soda?
statues built in our images to house our
40?
respective strengths.
I've had 280.
The first
milligrams
to
of caffeine
catalog
today.
my great designs.
Maybe
Yours to hold
maybe
and
more, actually.
magnify your talent with soul. The last for her so that she... No, she does not know I am building this great gift for us. When she returns, we will celebrate, and you will not...
Hold on. I gotta plug my phone in.
be so... Your point is made. We will decide together when to reveal her statue, and you will have say over where it will reside. I will even allow you to affect its design. If it will have you look more kindly upon our work, I will even let you hold on to my design so that you may take time in creating these constructs. Remember, brother, despite your soft heart, they must be tools and shields for us to survive. They are nothing more than that.
Why did they
Good.
make a guardian in
Then
the first
go
place?
and bring our...
like the little guys that are like, yeah, like that coming out of the ground. But like, there's also like the stone guardians and stuff. Like, so, is there like everything that is created from these two, or are there things outside that they actually built these for?
great works to life. I will inform you when this gift is complete.
This particular log references the departure of her, as well as Mithric's designs for 3 giant monuments of both the brothers and her. In-game, we only ever get to see the monument of Mithrix's brother, and as far as I know, we have no evidence of the other 2 monuments ever even being built. I believe it is during this time the other brother searches for a greater purpose, clearly no longer enjoying the unfulfilling task of building his brother's soulless constructs. It's genuinely a shame because this entry also shows us that Mithrix does value his brother's ability to manipulate soul and does not necessarily resent him for that in particular. He clearly loves his brother, but he's simply not aligned with his ideals. The breaking point in the relationship would not be caused by anything specific between themselves, though. Rather, it would be caused by what his brother would do next, introducing many new inhabitants to Petrichor, much to the dismay of Mithrix. And with that, we can finally begin to talk about the beings and creatures we see throughout both games. The Lemurians are a race of intelligent lizard-like beings that were at some point saved by the brother and brought to Petrichor. The Aphelians are a similar group, as well as the Tar, a parasitic organism that had a strained relationship with the Aphelians on their home planet that nearly drove them to extinction. And that's exactly the point. The brother likes to save things that are close to extinction because the idea of soul being permanently erased does not sit well with the brother, at least if he can do something about it. Despite the relationship that the Tar had with the Aphelians, the brother did not get rid of the Tar for the reason I just described. It also had soul. The lore for the Clay Apothecary quotes a passage titled The Tragedy of Ophelia, in which it tells about a mighty hero riding down from heaven on a glowing blue dragon, who offered the Dune people a chance at salvation. The Dune people took to the hero's arms and began their exodus to paradise. It is worth noting that the lore for abandoned aqueducts seems to depict that stage as the origin of Tar, but the tragedy of Ophelia also seems to specifically reference events on a separate Aphelian homeworld. Whether or not this is a contradiction or I simply don't understand it, I have no clue. The Grove Tenders, the brass contraptions, and many more creatures we see throughout the games also at some point made their way to Petrichor with the brothers' assistance. He was lauded by many as a great hero, and it seemed like this was when he found his true purpose: to save soul. The exact timeline and methods through which this happened are muddy at best, though, especially since it doesn't make sense for the brother to have been able to leave Petrichor to find these beings in the first place, unless she had something to do with it. There is another point of confusion
wait.
I wanted to highlight, where the Lemurians are present in the Gilded Coast environment log, despite Mithrix clearly stating that he wanted to lock Aurelianite away while she was still young and naive. This would mean that the Lemurians either ended up on Petrichor far earlier than I would expect, or that perhaps they were added later and Aurelianite had stayed imprisoned for a while already. There is also the option that the Lemurians were local to Petrichor, but I'm pretty sure that's just incorrect. Either way, I know for certain that Mithrix was present to know these creatures were being introduced to Petrichor, because we get to see his thoughts regarding them in the many logs regarding the Bulwarks Ambry. In the log where he refers to the Aphelians, he talks about how his brother had already saved them but continues to provide for them further once they're on Petrichor. This likely refers to his brother's creation of the Aphelian Sanctuary, which contains many pools and showers provided to help cleanse them of the tar.
I wonder what it is that changed in you. Have you forgotten what it was like to create something together? Do you not miss it? Or is there a weight upon you that I am unaware of? Too often, I find my mind occupied with your actions, for they affect us both. Yet you seem to care more for the wellness of these unimportant beings.
Whoa, unimportant is
What?
crazy. So when he says unimportant, that's gotta cause some beef, right? Like I feel like if you're gonna call the things that he keeps saving unimportant, he gonna
Does
get
that
mad at
make
you.
me? Do you not see the gulf beginning to take shape between us? Do you not feel it? I do.
I do.
At some point, the brother also makes a space specifically for the tar to reside on Petrichor as well, later known as the Abandoned Aqueducts. The Clay Dunestrider, Templar, and Apothecary are examples of constructs created by the Aphelians in order to transport the tar through the barren deserts.
Cool.
Mithrix clearly does not take kindly whatsoever to the introduction of the tar to Petrichor.
Do your foolish ways truly know no bounds? Our pillars cannot save us from something like this. How much will it cost us for you to protect them from their own doom? You risk everything for these beings. They're undeserving of your time, your effort, and your love. Do you not understand what we are? The power we wield? It was not designed for this. I can't help but wonder if it's purposeful. My attempts to understand you have failed time and time again. Do you fault me for what I did? Is this my punishment? So be it. In your selfish, senseless fascination, you now endanger
Phineas
us
and
both.
Ferb, but Phineas
No
and
matter
Ferb
what
have
they call
beef
you
and
are not
have
their
superpowers.
savior. You are their ruin.
To make matters worse, at some point,
What do we
the
think?
Grove Tenders would also make their way to Petrichor. I mentioned them briefly earlier.
The what?
They are the creators
Oh,
of the
those guys.
Wisps and the caretakers of the gardens
The
that make
antlers.
up Scorched Acres. It's that first part that really angers Mithrix, though, the creation of Wisps. These beings are capable of manipulating a soul, just like his brother. Of the several miscellaneous entries for Bulwarks Ambry, this seems to be the only one where Mithrix might be confronting his brother directly.
I will not hesitate to craft another cage to contain
only
these
20
pests
minutes
you
in.
allow to play with our
Okay.
grand design. Surely you notice these creatures touch soul, and still you grant them such freedom. Why? Do they remind you of home, of what we once shared together in our gardens? You don't still cast blame upon me so easily, do you? All because of that day, those worthless creatures, those worms? Is that it? Are these creatures your new worms? Is this how you mean things to be? Do you love them more than me, brother? Answer me!
I kind of like how the voice acting kind of gets like mutilated. I bet Mithrix like turns himself into a design, and it's like basically a war versus like design on one side and soul on the other. So it's like, I don't know, life versus machine, you know?
At this point, I think it's clear that Mithrix's brother was ignoring him, or at least prioritizing everyone else over him. And this had strained Mithrix so much that he developed feelings of genuine anger and frustration, lashing out on the beings his brother cared so much about, just for getting all of his attention. I don't think either brother was necessarily at fault for this situation. They simply had very different goals. And perhaps the brother thought Mithrix was already too far gone. Could he really not be reasoned with? Was there really no other way?
Why are they not name dropping the brother?
My brother, it is done. Come see. Look to the moon. The first beacon shines brightly on the other side. There was no gap in its sequence. It has traveled instantaneously. We can cross the dark sea without succumbing to its sickness if we simply do not travel through it at all. Is it not a brilliant light of hope? Only your hands could have realized my design, brother. I feel truly now that there is no obstacle nor force we cannot overcome together, with my designs and your constructions. While it pains me to see your heart still torn for the doomed, we are not among them. There is an entire cosmos for us. We can escape this planet, our prison. If your heart truly
Oh my god, what if it's a trap? What if you
then
design it to
surely
be a
more
trap?
of our kind awaits among the other worlds trapped by the dark sea. And to them we can offer the gates. When next she visits our world, I must ask her to take a gate with her, perhaps dozens. You should be celebrating with me, brother. And yet, I see your somber gaze will not lift. Please take the gate, step foot on another world, reap the rewards of your toil. Prove to the universe you are free. I cannot bear to see you in such a pitiable mood on such a joyous occasion. If you insist, brother, I will go first. Forget about those creatures and do not dawdle. I want to see joy on your face.
And so, Mithrix walks forward onto the gate, choosing to go first ahead of his brother. He activates the gate, and after a small windup, he is instantaneously transported to the surface of the moon. It worked. In utter awe, Mithrix takes a moment to absorb his surroundings. They were stuck on that ugly rock for millennia, and now he had finally taken the first step to venture beyond. But his excitement quickly
This got me
fades
locked in.
favor of confusion. It's been a little while, hasn't it? Isn't his brother going to follow after him? This was all for him, after all, to make him smile, to make him happy again. This was all he ever wanted for them. Why would he not follow? Why was he so sad before he left?
Because Providence or whatever, the brother's gonna blow up the moon. Because he's getting in the way.
Mithrix attempts to activate the gate to return to Petrichor. It doesn't
Broken.
work. He tries again. It doesn't work. This cannot be possible. An error in his design? No, it can't be. It never has been. He tries again. It doesn't work. Why would his brother do this to him? Was it really the worms? He tries again. It doesn't work. Did it seriously all lead back to those damn worms? He tries again. It doesn't work. Briefly after Mithrix
worms,
used
man.
the gate, his brother sat motionless in its presence. He couldn't stop staring at it. His brother was right. If his heart truly yearned to save, he had to do something. Right here, right now. This was his only chance. He walked up to the gate and stopped. Hesitation. Finally, he shifts the alignment of the gate, removing the connection to its pair and effectively stranding his brother on the moon. Now, Mithrix couldn't do anything. Not to him, not to the creatures, not to anybody. It was the only way.
So he trapped him on the moon. so that he wouldn't get in the way of him saving all the people, all the beings. Hence why in Risk of Rain 2, we travel to the moon and fight Mithrix, who is left on the moon. Because he's been there. That's the betrayal.
Now that his brother was trapped on the moon, an era of peace and security on Petrichor 5 began. Many of the details during this period are vague, but we do know a handful of events that happened, just not necessarily the order in which they happened. During this era, many of the creatures on Petrichor would build structures to show their appreciation for the heroes, such as the Temple of Elders from the Lemurians and the Gardens from the Grove Tenders. Despite this, the hero never seems to actually acknowledge these efforts to respect him, as noted in the log for the Grove Tenders. Due to his fascination with worms, the hero would also construct a nursery for magma worms, which we'd know later as the Helmand Hatchery. It is entirely possible this area was constructed before Mithrix was trapped, but the log for the stage, at least explicitly, takes place after that event. This log seems to depict the hero fashioning a weapon, described as a mace. It reads, "Massive shining coils shift, red as mercury blossoms, revealing a sphere of bright molten obsidian glowing inside a bowl of red stone. 4 stories up, a large dark hand reaches through the glassless window, pets the coils, and brings the bowl inside.
Who's the
Strange
mace
tools
character?
of silver line the walls alongside endless artifacts freely given, intricately carved, and tenderly loved. His tribute. He pulls an oblong clay jar down. A seal bearing his likeness breaks under his grip with a hiss.
There's
Inside
no, not
the jar,
item.
crackling starseed thorns
Is there a
and dried
character
Kefir
that
skins.
plays with
Their
the
earthy
mace?
scent fills the smoldering
Has it made
workshop.
damage?
For the morning star, he reaches into the molten obsidian and pierces the bowl with a starseed thorn from within. A thorn for each fate changed. Many thorns and fates later, he taps a silver tool against the stone of the workshop.
Okay.
Red coils in the window shift again. A massive burning eye curiously takes in the room. Then its open mouth appears in the window. The sudden heat wave sending
Is
a
this
song
the
through a
fireworm?
ceiling of silver chimes.
The creation of the
He
fireworm?
places the spiked obsidian ball inside and pats its muzzle twice. The gilded worm is to take the mace to the surface. The obsidian cools in a shaft of putrid moonlight, collecting lunar rage and loneliness. For the handle, he wraps a rod of silver in dried Kefir skins and an eon of freedom, lost to gravity wells long ago. Finally, he seals the obsidian weapon with a golden T emblem. His gift.
False
No.
sun. But that
His
is
apology.
after this. Oh.
This log depicts the hero making a weapon, like I said, which he had one of his gilded worms bring to the surface of the moon as a gift and apology to his brother. It also gives us some interesting insight with the line, "An eon of freedom lost to gravity wells long ago." If my theory from the beginning of the story is correct, this would be alluding to the fact that Mithrix and his brother were free as children in a completely different place for a pretty long time, before the gravity well incident caused them to be trapped on Petrichor. Despite Mithrix no longer being a threat to the beings of Petrichor though, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. We know of 2 incursions led by
What kind of powers do you think I'm getting if I go fall in a gravity well for an eon? Honestly, I think I'm getting time travel. Low key. You know, you got like those guys, which is like machine and like life and soul. Give me time. Give me the middle ground, you know? Give me the third.
outside parties that happened during this time. The imps attempted to invade Petrichor, searching for an unnamed artifact, but their plans were mercilessly thwarted by the hero's presence. Even during a coordinated attempt on his life, they were all slaughtered, and only some, barely, managed to escape by hiding in what they refer to as the between space. Now that the remaining imps were in a weakened state, they lacked the energy to travel back to the Red Plane, essentially stranding them on Petrichor. According to them, their only hope of salvation is if the Imp Emperor learns of their situation and comes to assist them. The log for the imps also notes that whenever they manage to
I feel like they had these abilities before falling in the well. What? Really? So, but like, why didn't they like? Why wouldn't they like do anything before the well then? Like, why didn't they make anything? Because they didn't have to, or like, I feel like after they were in the well for so long, they grew accustomed to like that weird, the invisible force thing. I don't know. They just understood them after. Oh, so it's kind of like you know, you stick your head in a page for long enough, you understand what it says, kind of thing. Yeah, they just had so much time on their hands that they understood what was going on.
observe the hero without being noticed, he stands in the open, transfixed by the moon. They found some humor in that. The Void is another force that attempted to invade Petrichor from another dimension similar to the Imps. However, there is an immense amount of depth to the Void that warrants it having its own section later on. All you really need to know is that Petrichor was the one planet they couldn't take. You may be wondering what happened to Aurelionite
Void's
after
14
Mithrix was trapped on the moon,
14
considering
minutes.
he was the one who decided to seal her away to begin with. It is clear to us that Aurelionite remained trapped in the Gilded Coast even after Mithrix was out of the picture. For what reason, we have no clue. Because of this, Aurelionite would be given centuries or possibly millennia to let her resentment towards her creators fester and grow, inadvertently proving the point Mythix tried to make about her being dangerous all those years ago.
I mean, it's kind of like a self-fulfilling
A wretched
prophecy, though,
cargo.
right?
They-
Like if you trap a being, like, and you say, "Oh, they're dangerous. We gotta trap them." They become dangerous because of the fact that you trap them. They weren't inherently dangerous. You know, like if you trap, I guess if you nurture them from like when they're created, like there's none of that, you know? Like maybe they're dangerous towards someone else, but like self-fulfilling prophecy, oh, this is the chosen one, you know? If you have them grow up thinking they're the chosen one, I don't know, probably they're going to come up with some crazy that happens, you know? Like they're going to do some chosen one like type stuff. I
We're
don't know.
doomed for good reason. Dune people of Ophelia, lost in fanatic worship of parasitic influences. Lemurians, destined to a dead planet, picked clean. Chitin beasts, automations of death. Why do you bring them home? They were not meant to survive. I have watched you for ages from my dead rock, and every century you disgust me with vanity. You invite vermin into your home. Wretches, rats, monsters, creatures without restraint. Each and every one planet killers, and yet you entertain them as guests, like children requiring saving and protection. She should have died for me. Her gift was wasted on you. And when will we open discussion, dear brother, of all your thin lies? Why do you forbid your guests to leave? To pilot? Why do you fashion great walls and gates? Why do you weave constructs of destruction if your role is protection? They are entries in your collection, you slaver, gatekeeper, hoarder. Your death is fated. When you die, and you will die, I will be ready. I have been patient for millennia. That planet is mine.
Oh.
Despite being stuck on the moon, clearly
He's
Mithrix wasn't going
pissed.
to just sit there and not do anything. In
Yeah.
his rage, he'd create the lunar items, artifacts infused with his influence. He would cast them down towards Petrichor, hoping that anyone unfortunate enough to retrieve them would become one of his followers and assist him in finding a way off the moon. Notably, at some point, the deity that visited the brothers seems to have died, leaving behind some kind of gift for the hero as a sacrifice. But what this gift is exactly, we don't know. Circling back to the lunar items, the Bazaar Between Time is a shop in-game that actually sells the lunar items to the player. This shop seems to exist in a sort of pocket dimension where time is stopped. The shopkeeper is Newt, the Transcendent One, a rather mysterious
Love that
figure
guy.
whose origins are only vaguely
You can kill
known.
him though, right?
The environment log for
What
the
happens
bazaar
when you
tells
kill him?
us of a group of time newts, with a lone newt struggling to keep up due to a defective left arm. The other newts leave the lone newt behind, but this lone newt knew of a secret place he didn't want them to find out about. After venturing through a tunnel, he'd find himself on the other side, greeted by a
Nothing.
tide pool.
But you can kill him though,
He
right?
relaxed himself and floated on the surface, too dazed to notice that the place had changed since his previous visit. The water was higher, warmer, and had a blue glow, and he didn't notice the long pale arms grasping in the depths below. With all these details in mind, I think it's easy to assume the tide pool is the Bazaar Between Time, and this lone newt later went on to be the shopkeeper that we can physically observe shares a disfigured arm with the one described. Because the rest of his group was said to be time newts, it should also be clear that this pocket dimension is being maintained by the newt himself, and I believe the blue glow and pale arms from the log are references to Mithrix's influence that must have had something to do with the newt eventually going on to sell lunar items, essentially helping Mithrix distribute them and gain more followers. Evidently very lonely, Mithrix also tended to talk to himself, having imaginary
Wait, so this is
conversations with a
crazy,
brother that couldn't reciprocate. We see this most evidently in the lore for the lunar item, Gesture of the Drowned, which reads,
Fossils. Remnants. How cruel. This moon once housed life. Life that you may have held dear, had the timing been right. But our timing was wrong. We were born much too late. Now it is just calcium to me, and irrelevant to you. Isn't that right?
Another lunar item with special significance is Purity, which has some parallels with the log for Helmand Hatchery. The lore for Purity reads, It looks like starseed, tanning in dirt. It smells like hot stone and tall grass. It tastes like spiced fruit, sweet and hot. It feels like solar winds and solar chimes. It sounds like two brothers chasing glass frogs in the sun.
Damn.
Considering its appearance and parallels in their descriptions, it is extremely likely that Purity is a corrupted lunar version of the morning star that was part of the mace the hero sent as a gift. It's also worth noting one extremely important detail: the ingredients, keyfruit, and starseed were things Mithrix and his brother threw into gravity wells when they were children. Perhaps because of this very fact, it's not surprising that Mithrix was insulted by the gesture, viewing it as a pity gift given to him by the one who imprisoned him in the first place. Mithrix tore off the morning star from the weapon and turned it into one of many other lunar items. Noticing the spread of the lunar items on Petrichor and understanding the dangerous power they hold, the hero took action. He constructed the cleansing pools, which would transform lunar items into pearls, effectively neutralizing the potential danger they hold. The lore for the pearl reads, His influence is stark. I
Wait,
do not blame you for your curiosity,
can
but cleanse yourself
Cleanse
of
your
it
lunar
immediately.
items in
It
a
will ruin
pool?
you and all you care about.
I didn't know that.
Despite the seemingly
But I guess you
forgiving
have to get
attitude
this-
he had
this
with those who
specific
found
map,
themselves
right?
with lunar items in their possession, there was one item that the hero had no tolerance for: the beads of fealty. The master of this world is a benevolent protector, our savior. Despite the natures of its various inhabitants, he has made a peaceful place here.
That's just untrue.
Peace comes at a cost, of course. Some things are strictly forbidden. Above all, there is one item that cannot be tolerated. To possess it
Nah,
is
there
to
are multiple
surely
maps
perish.
with those pools.
A strange, heavy, and deeply entrancing set of beads that seem to speak with whoever holds them. To discover them among one's community is to create a dark, rippling panic. It is not long after they are found that the mighty protector appears in a thunderous instant to pursue
Providence. I mean, obviously it's Providence, right?
To their owner and solemnly take a life he swore to defend. It is no physical property of the beads themselves which provoke such a drastic response, but instead what they represent. They are a symbol, and to carry them is a dark promise to undo the world, to cast to oblivion all people who find their final place here, all in exchange for a doomed return to ruinous way. The elusive, sinister intelligence with whom these beads represent a pact seems known only to the bearer, to the hero himself. One thing, however, is known to anyone who has borne witness to these beads: a cruel, cackling laughter that erupts as blood and coins of favor are spilled, abruptly silenced as the beads are destroyed. Where they come from isn't known.
What do the beads do in game? Like, do they even do anything in game? Because, like, I feel like that would be really underwhelming if they did nothing.
But should you encounter these beads, you must leave them far, far behind. Never look back. Despite his best efforts, the hero could not
They seem
prevent
to do
all
nothing
of the lunar
much.
items from falling into the wrong hands. If you loop in Risk of Rain 2, eventually you will come across the Celestial Portal, which brings you to a moment fractured. This is a hidden realm that brings you to the obelisk, which gives you the option to obliterate yourself, ending your run there. However, if you have the Beads of Fealty, you instead get transported to a separate hidden realm, a moment hole. Here, you fight against one of 4 possible twisted scavengers, which are variants of the normal scavengers that collect and use items that you can find scattered across the stages. Upon successfully defeating one, you'd be rewarded with 10 lunar coins, the currency used to buy lunar items in-game. It seems like those under the influence of Mithrix could communicate with him directly, as the environment log for a moment hole seems to depict a conversation between him and a servant of his.
It is sealed. You do not have the skill to release this. It is a lock of my design. My design! It will not break and it will not yield. The alignment of the
So
gate
who do we
cannot-
think? Who do we think's in the right? Like, who do we think? Whose team are we on? You know, I'm on Team Mithrix right now, but he's kind of getting a little bit, chill. Take a chill pill. But even like the hero, he's on the Providence side. And I get being on the whole life side. But like Mithrix, man, he was looking out
I'll
for
be
him.
changed by one such as you.
That's how they're framing it.
It will
at least.
persist for as long as my treacherous brother lives. I have wasted my time in teaching you to operate it. A lock, my lock, crafted by the hands of my betrayer. He has exploited and twisted my treasure designs into mockeries. My guardians that he continues to weave with willful volatility. My sentinels that
hero
he
is
encumbers
Providence?
by
I thought
his
the hero is
self-indulgent
someone
adornments
else,
and
and
alterations.
the Grand Savior is
My
Providence.
gates,
Like,
through
they're
which
different.
vermin like you ride to our infested home. Vermin like you, oblivious to her sacrifice as you all cowered from the radiant corpse that saved you. And now, in the greatest mockery he could devise, he has twice used my own creations to erase me. My heart cannot bear this. My blood boils anew, and I will no longer be able to temper it. Your final task is rescinded. You have served me well. You have been my hands where I cannot reach, my feet where I cannot stride, my eyes where I cannot see, and I have seen enough. Be pleased that I hold loyalty above all else. When you so choose, the beads of your oath will guide you to my vault. Reach out to the monolith while clutching them. Do not let go. You will find yourself at peace, and more importantly, my servant, in a realm overlooked by the design of my coming reprisal.
Here we learn quite a few things.
Why does it
For
kinda
one,
seem like
it
it's
seems like
voiced by,
Mithrix was actually
Gustavo
able to get
Fring?
a servant of his to reach the gate and attempt to change its alignment, only to realize that it was locked using a seal Mithrix himself had designed. The only 2 people who could possibly hope to undo it are either of the two brothers, so he simply tells the servant they're no longer needed. The most important revelation, though, is the second mention of her death, the female deity. Somehow her death was a sacrifice that benefits the residents of Petrichor too, not just the hero, the brother, but they are completely oblivious to it. But unfortunately, like I said before, we don't
I thought it was
actually
Petrichor
know
5, not
what that
Petrichor 2.
means. Who he's talking to during this monologue is also not clear. Due to the non-plural nature of the word servant being used at the end, I feel like it's only one individual. Seeing as this is a log for a moment whole, it would be easy to assume he was speaking with one of the Twisted Scavengers, but I personally suspect he was speaking with another loyal servant of his, who I'll discuss in more detail very soon. You may be wondering where humans fit into this story.
I bet it is the human. I bet it's the player, you know, because they had to pick up the beads
I mean,
of
we've
fealty.
gone with barely a mention
So they're
of
the
them.
servant because they
Well,
picked up the beads
we
of
can
fealty.
assume most of human history was likely parallel to ours, with the important deviation being the War of 2019. Not much is known about this war, aside from the fact that it only lasted a year and was the bloodiest
Bad
war
news,
in
guys.
human history.
Never
Around
happened.
this time, a powerful organization known as the High Court is formed. Holding the belief that heaven is a planet and not a mystical place, they decide to search deep space for their promised land. The most ambitious faction within the High Court is the House Beyond, which catalyzed the rapid expansion into deep space that would allow for humans to even venture near Petrichor to begin with. Eventually, humans would colonize the moons of Saturn, leading to interactions between them and the Saturnian bison. The log for the bison is an excerpt
cool.
from a book called The Xenobiology of the Remus System, which describes the mysterious case of the bison completely vanishing from their natural environment. It may not be obvious to them, but to
So
us,
this is a moon
it's
on
evident
Saturn.
that the cause of
That's
this
cool.
was the hero bringing the species to Petrichor. This was likely in fear that the humans would overhunt them to extinction, unaware of the laws in place to prevent such a thing from happening. The important thing to take away, though, is that by this point, the hero is aware of the human's existence, which is made even more evident by the environment log for commencement.
Have you forgotten that those gates are my design? You would not know because you do not look up. You bend knees only for ants and vermin. But I've been working on a grander design, a greater gate to travel greater seas. What if I met you on one of these extinct planets? What if I caused the calamities you strive to avoid?
So he's gonna go and like, yeah, he's gonna
What
cause
if
a bunch
I
of destruction.
lead to destruction? What would you do then?
Would
I
he
know
just
the planet
avoid
you
it?
trail of water and dirt. You fear
Earth.
their stability. That they will
Urath.
consume themselves.
My favorite log is
Maybe
egocentrism.
We'll go there.
Dude.
first.
Oh my god, my recommended. I did a run with my friends. I had a great burn build going. Excellent. I had like the explosions on death. I had the double damage, like 3 different ones. I got egocentrism. And by the end of it, I had probably 50 of them. And it was so frustrating because I couldn't do anything the whole time. I sat there and I dove bomb people on Seeker because I pressed my shift, flew forward, pressed my R to heal, and blew up all of my egocentrisms and ran away and did the just rinse and repeat. It was so boring.
Fast forwarding to around late 2055, a cargo ship called the UES Contact Light is asked by an unknown party to detour from the established shipping route. The environment log for Siren's call shows us a manifest of the messages presumably sent by the captain during this detour. Strangely, these messages tell us that engineers and xenoarchaeologists were on board, who were hoping of finding a matching pair. This could only really mean one thing, a matching gate. But why would they already have a gate in their possession? Why would a cargo ship even be responsible for finding a matching one? Why would they detour to Petrichor 5? As they approach the planet's atmosphere, the hero takes note of the presence of a ship getting eerily close to the planet's moon. Perhaps in a panic, or knowing what humans are capable
Looks
of
kinda tough.
should they get to the moon or to the planet, the hero uses a gate to teleport into the ship's cargo hold, and he wreaks havoc. The contact light sends out a distress signal and begins launching escape pods for all those on board.
Oh!
Meanwhile, the loyal servant of Mithrix, Kurskan the Heretic, somehow manages to make her way on board, stepping through a portal of some kind out onto the ship, with the hero's rampage making for a perfect distraction. After sprinting through the many compartments of the ship and darting through ventilation shafts, she bursts out onto the bridge and kills the captain as he's reaching for his pistol. Kurskan was a member of the alloy vulture species, bird-like creatures with extreme intelligence and unbelievable intuition for technology and electronics. Even though she had never driven a ship and was unfamiliar with human tech, she still begins to rewire it from the main console. The ship is big, but not too complex. It can still fly. What she wanted this ship for is unknown, whether it was for her own escape or to assist Mithrix. Regardless of her intent, her attempt was swiftly interrupted by a flash of thunder. The hero had entered the bridge. He was much faster than she expected, but maybe he would...
Holy aura. Dead. Severed. Head severed, bro.
Immediately following her murder, the hero would scatter her remains towards the moon.
Ew. Oh, so those lunar items are because...
Sending a message to
Oh my
Mithrix that whatever he
God.
had planned was foiled. He was not getting off the moon. These remains would later become the lunar items known as Essence of Heresy, Hooks of Heresy, Strides of Heresy, and Visions of Heresy. Meanwhile, on the surface of Petrichor, countless escape pods and cargo chests alike
The
would
chef.
rain down from the sky,
W
scattering
chef.
across the planet, creating pockets of survivors. Survivor camps would be created in an attempt to organize and stay alive, such as Rally Point Delta, but the inhabitants of Petrichor did not take kindly to their invaders. Many began to fight with the locals, but some even fought amongst themselves. Between the environment log for wetland aspect and item lore for
And so
ceremonial
we're one
dagger,
of
we
those
get to see a
pods or
story
what?
unfold involving a group of survivors that found themselves cornered and on the brink of death. Marion suggested the use of the dagger she had found, saying, "It's a magic dagger. It'll save us. She will save us, but you have to kill me with it."
Where the
So,
dead bird
that's exactly
become
what
a
they did.
bird.
And through her sacrifice, they lived. But Pew saw. He saw.
The
and he
heretic?
didn't understand. How could he? I tried to tell him. I ran over to him, but I couldn't convince
that's
him
how you
otherwise.
unlock the
And he
character.
was so crazy. So crazy. He wouldn't shut up, and the golems were coming, and the dagger. There was no choice. Everyone was real somber that night. We lost Hitchcock and Marion and Pew. Real somber. Later on, Carney found the book from a nearby chest, and it really all made sense. It did. I knew why Marion had that dagger and why I had to be the one to kill her. And Carney? He was too strong. I couldn't risk him not understanding. He wouldn't understand. But Carney was big. Everyone else would have known. So that night, after I killed him, I went and took his body to the altar, and I hid the altar right at the edge of the cliff, between two clusters of roots, in a cave underneath. And in that cave, I worshipped her concepts. The rest, well, they were so old and so tired. They were just gifts for Nukuhana, and she loved them. Wish on. If we take a look at the lore for another item, Nukuhana's opinion, we see an excerpt from the beginning of a book called the Natormat, likely
What's
the
that?
holy book for followers
So
of
he
Nukuhana,
just, like-
and the same book that was just described. It reads, "Let us begin. What is your oath? Not very long ago, health and time were in
okay.
perfect synergy. Pain and love, death and memories, the great equalizer. She would always come for us. But disparity now plagues our generations and our children's. Not many pass, but so many are born. So many doomed souls saved. Our hubris as a race continues to grow unchecked, unrestrained. Now there is no volume in our world for death, and she cannot visit us. But is being alive only an offset from death? Without contrast, won't we all be dead in life? The standard has shifted, and now we are all so very close to never living again. We must make volume for her name to restore the balance. Let us consume the concepts, so we may begin to drain the bloated cistern that is our world. As disciples, we will spread her words and opinions. As pupils, we will sow
Interesting.
death. And should we be lucky, be granted an audience by her. Wishan.
Wishan.
Based on this, it's clear that Nukuhana is some kind of god of death, meant to act as an equalizer to keep life in balance. However, the scripture notes that there is a recent imbalance, which could be because of the hero saving numerous species in danger of extinction. Therefore, her followers offer sacrifices in an effort to fix that imbalance, which is what we saw happen with that group of survivors. Unfortunately, that group wasn't the only one misfortunate enough to fall prey to the circumstances. In fact, every single survivor group was eventually snuffed out, dying one by the hands of those defending against their invaders. Every survivor except one.
Except one. Commando.
In Risk of Rain, the player exits an escape pod and traverses various environments in Petrichor, gunning
is
down
Commando!
enemies and using the cargo chests that fell to obtain items, making them progressively more powerful. At the end of each stage, the player uses one of the gates, or teleporter, to advance to the next stage, eventually reaching the Temple of Elders and encountering the Divine Teleporter. This teleporter transports you to the final stage, Risk of Rain, the wreckage of the contact light. By this point, the survivor has been made ridiculously powerful by the items they've found along the way and has slaughtered countless residents of Petrichor. Once the player finally reaches the bridge, they're given the prompt to leave the planet. But as you try to do so, alarms start blaring, and he approaches. Though we never learn his true name,
hero.
during this battle, the survivor dubs him Providence, Bulwark of the Weak.
It's a worm.
The hero tries his best to last the long and hard-fought battle, but eventually the survivor takes Providence and his gilded worms down. Upon the realization that he is lost, Providence grasps at his chest, falls to his knees, and says,
You monster.
Thus, with the final obstacle removed, you can work the console, and the survivor departs from Petrichor 5.
Damn. Okay, so Risk of Rain 1.
And so
Take
he left
out
with everything
Providence.
but his humanity.
Risk of Rain
I
2.
recognized him from the security footage. He was the one who blew the cargo hatches open. He was the one who killed everyone. Providence, as I came to call him, moved faster and with more purpose than anything else I've seen on this planet. He must command great power, for he seems to easily control two great gilded worms
Magma
of a species
worm.
similar to the magma worm. Is he able to command everyone on this planet? I don't know his purpose or his reasoning, but he did not give me a choice. I had to kill him. So,
I'm gonna be
why
honest,
do I feel
Commando's
like I made
so
a
weak in the
terrible
actual game.
mistake? Why did we have a teleporter from this planet in our cargo hold?
Because
Gossip spreads
Mithrix.
quickly in terrified communities. Stories that keep the more fearful lizard folk in their passageways. Hushed tales that frighten the most commanding of stone constructs and woodfolk and creatures of the plains. Fear travels between the trees and the valleys. A demon, fallen from the sky, mighty enough to slay Providence and his worms.
He's weaker
Only
than Risk
2
of Rain
arms,
1.
two
He
legs,
come back stronger?
but with 22 unblinking crimson eyes. Word spreads pretty quickly back on Earth, too. Rumors of a dangerous, uncharted alien planet and the destruction of a
Earth
cargo
2?
ship. An unknown higher power
Ooh,
organizes a return trip for research and documentation purposes, but we hardly know a thing about it. Even the ship that carries out the mission is known to us only as the UES Redacted. This
US
mission
Providence,
involves
bro.
military soldiers, biologists, and many more personnel. It is likely that at least one artificer from the High Court was present for the mission too, and somehow this artificer ends up in the bazaar, frozen in time by the newt unless the player later frees her. A lot of the enemy and item logs in Risk of Rain 2 are records of this mission. Although there was plenty
Not
of
every
hostility
survivor is
exhibited by the
different
residents of
except
Petrichor towards these researchers, we don't know if the mission was successful or not, but if I had to guess, they probably got what they came for and went back to Earth. On the flip side, the absence of Providence led to a number of unforeseen consequences, such as the Void resuming its attempts to take hold of Petrichor. From time to time, void seeds would sprout throughout the planet, transforming the surrounding environment and making the very act of standing within their radius harmful
what even is
due to the void
knowing
fog.
the lore, though? Like, what's the
They'd
point of
also
what we're
alter the
what
nearby
you're
flora
doing as a
and
survivor,
fauna,
though?
and
Like,
void infestors
you
would
know?
infect the locals and turn them into void counterparts of themselves. The residents of Petrichor would fight within their communities to stamp out the spread of infection, but without their savior, the void would continue to spread. Another consequence of the hero's demise was a looming sense of terror and directionlessness, no longer having the leader they viewed with reverence. A handful of the Lemurians were actually followers of Aurelianite, building statues of gold which later could be used by the player to access the Gilded Coast. I believe these Lemurians came up with the idea to build a statue of Providence out of gold and have Aurelianite use her power to bring it to life, blessing them with a replacement guardian. She begins to use her powers to spread her influence past the Gilded Coast. This results in the creation of Aurelianite's offspring, the Halcyonites, which are somewhat rudimentary beings, not really the replacements the Lemurians were looking for. However, in the process of doing this, she also gives life to the statue, which results in the creation of the false sun. Noticing this, several alloy vultures, faithful to Mithrix, ambush the false sun and pierce his chest, corrupting him. Now he has characteristics of all three who assisted in his creation: the perfection of Aurelianite, the passion of Providence, and the hatred and loneliness of Mithrix. Whether by his own volition or in retaliation, he would then proceed to lay waste to the surrounding area, which would go on to be the stage we know as Shattered Abodes. Mithrix actually notices this disaster from the moon and has this to say.
A mockery of a greater being. See, brother? Left unsupervised, your pets toy with tools beyond their understanding. Do you ignore their endless praise? I doubt it. Does it make you feel better about betraying your own? Pathetic. Have you grown so tired of foolishness? You wait to see what happens if you loosen the reins? Answer me.
Unfortunately, the brother he antagonizes is long gone. Later on, the false sun would venture to the top of the Providence Monument, which I described earlier. The environment log for the stage reformed altar, which is the base of the monument, depicts a conversation between an elder Lemurian and several younglings, which I believe to actually have immense significance. It reads,
You all sit at the blessed foot of the Colossus.
What is that, Elder?
The Colossus is a gift built by the gods to honor the hero.
Who is the hero?
The bulwark of the weak, savior across the deep darkness, light against death. The hero saved all that we can see, and all we have are his.
Like, I feel like
Why is the Colossus
Providence
here?
is the bad guy.
The Colossus is here, for it is right
The
to
hero
be
is
here.
the bad guy.
It is right for us to guard it, so the great sin should not break free,
Why do we guard it, Elder?
so that he may love us as we love him.
I want to go through this bit by bit because there's a lot of revelations to be had here. First off, the Elder remarks that the Colossus is a gift built by the gods to honor the hero, but we know from the Prime Meridian log that this is only partially true. Mithrix offered the design, and Providence decided where it would be placed. The fact that even an Elder Lemurian believes it to have been built by intangible gods is a testament to how ancient the monument must be and how little they actually know about their savior. Also, when asked why the Colossus was where it was, the Elder basically just replied, because it should be, without offering any actual reasoning or insight. The most important detail, though, is when it is said to be guarded to prevent a great sin from breaking free. The only two beings in the story that are trapped are Mithrix and Aurelionite, and Mithrix is on the moon, making Aurelionite the great sin by default, which makes sense. With all these details in mind, I personally
understand
believe
both of them, but I side with Mithrix. I guess I kind of like get Providence, but like, bro, just talk. Like, I mean, come on.
that the Colossus was placed by Providence where it was explicitly to guard Aurelionite, the Great Sin, from freely accessing the rest of the world, which would also make it all the more thematically relevant that the False Sun's boss arena is within a coliseum near the top of that very monument. It would also imply that the Gilded Coast has some physical way of being accessed, despite being a hidden realm that we can only get to with a portal. The False Sun would wait, sitting atop the Colossus, Aurelionite sitting at the Gilded Coast, and Mithrix on the moon. All waiting until the player arrives in Risk of Rain 2. Approximately 1 year after the events of Risk of Rain, a retired captain is approached by an unknown party with the idea of a rescue mission. The goal of this mission is to save any remaining survivors from the contact light. Reading the document, he sees that the ship chosen for the journey is the UES Safe Travels, which is not a rescue ship. Not only that, but the plan doesn't even include any armaments for the ship. We can only assume the reason for these choices is to keep the mission top secret. One may be inclined to ask, though, why any party would organize a top secret rescue mission considering we know a mission to Petrichor happened between games. There are a few possible explanations for this. It could be that this isn't actually a rescue mission and the organizer has some other hidden goal. Perhaps the organizer of the mission is disconnected from whoever led the previous research mission and is unaware it even occurred. Or maybe the goal of saving Contact Light survivors is a disguise and they're actually attempting to save researchers from the redacted who may have been left behind. Regardless of its true goal, the plan is executed, and the Safe Travels embarks on its journey to the last known coordinates of the Contact Light. We're here, Captain.
I thought it
The
was
distress
redacted.
beacon came from this exact coordinate.
Contact light, though?
This planet, it isn't on any star maps we know. This area isn't even en route.
Any visuals on the contact light?
No, sir. Just debris.
Any signs of survivors?
No, sir. Bioscanner's dark. Sir, the distress beacon, it mentioned a lot. Monsters and fighting and...
This
Sir,
is the intro.
do you think we're ready? Sir? Despite a seemingly clear lack of survivors, the crew of the Safe Travels still opts to stay put and check the planet out for themselves, which leads us into the gameplay for Risk of Rain 2. Around this time, the Safe Travels also receives a message from Aurelionite, dated December 2nd, 2056, at 5:09. The message reads,
That's
I am alive. My creator.
okay. I don't get the point of mentioning a time when you haven't mentioned a time in like the entire thing. Contact Light was the ship for Risk of Rain 1, and there's a second mission after we leave Risk of Rain 1. Okay.
Have scorned me and imprisoned me
And
in
then
this realm, for I
That's
am
the redacted
beautiful.
one, and then
My
Safe Travels
followers
is
have
the
created
third
shrines
one.
in my name. They love me. They donate rare metals to me. I am sending out this message in all possible formats known to me. If you receive this message, know the following. Know that I am alive. Know that I am free. And to my creators, should you intercept this message, know the following. Know that I am alive. Know that I am free. Know that I am coming for you.
considering the way
That's kind of
Aurelionite
aura.
speaks in this message and the timing of its receival, I believe it may be a message that exists conditionally, only if you visit the Gilded Coast and free Aurelionite in-game. However, it is worth noting that the message has no date of origin. The reason why I believe it to be conditional to you freeing Aurelionite is because she says that she's free. Though, on the contrary, she also uses the phrasing, and to my creators, plural. Later on, she is shown to have a pretty keen sense for whether or not they're around, so unfortunately, it's a bit ambiguous. The rest of the game plays out very similarly to Risk of Rain 1. If you choose to, you can fight and recruit Aurelionite, you can fight the False Sun, you can visit the Bulwark's Ambry, and you can even transform into Kurskon the Heretic by acquiring all of her associated lunar items. Like before, the player gathers items to become more powerful and ventures through several stages using the teleporters, and eventually you make it to one of two Stage 5s, Sky Meadow or Helminth Hatchery. I've already discussed Helminth Hatchery, though I held off on mentioning that you can actually find Providence's sword hidden on the stage, just a cool Easter egg. Sky Meadow, on the other hand, is unique in the sense that it actually shows up in Risk of Rain 1 as well.
Oh,
Evidence
that's
of this
cool.
can be found in the form
know
of
that.
empty chests scattered across the stage. Another thing that makes it unique is that it isn't quite on the planet, instead it's a mass of floating terrain and meteors up in the atmosphere. After finding the teleporter on the stage, you may notice it's not quite the same as the other ones throughout the game. The shape and color are different, and its outer edge can be interacted with to change its alignment. This is the primordial teleporter,
But,
and
like,
its
why-
destination is currently set to the moon.
To the moon. But like, why are you able to like change it? You know? Why are you like the person able to adjust the
The teleporter spawns you in a massive room, dimly lit by countless blue flames. In front of you is a ramp leading to a long, straight hallway. After exiting, you arrive at a clearing and see a massive tree-like structure in the sky. Directly in front of you is a human-made vessel, but a blue barrier prevents you from accessing it. 5 dead commandos can be seen scattered around it, indicating some kind of struggle. The environment is split into 4 sections, each containing multiple pillars, of which 4 must be fully charged in order to ascend. These are the pillars of mass, design, blood, and soul. This entire place is of his creation, born out of his anger, loneliness, spite,
You're smarter
and
than the
boredom.
heretic. I thought the
Once you
heretic was like
charge all
really
4
smart,
pillars, several beams will appear that bring you up to the arena. And once you pass the barrier, the only option is forward. The stranding of 2 brothers. The creation of a great sin. Disagreements leading into painful feuds. His stranding on the moon. His apology. His response. The death of the Bulwark. The birth of the sun. Everything that has happened throughout the story has led to this one ultimate battle. And so he appears. Mithrix, King of
I mean,
Nothing.
just the Mr. Aura.
Like the fight against his brother, this battle consists of multiple phases, and the entire time he's taunting you. From his perspective, you're just an inferior being with a bunch of weird trinkets. Unfortunately, he underestimates the potential of an ordinary human being that just wants to go home. However, even after you knock him down the 3rd time, Mithrix still has one last trump card. He throws his hand up in the air and exclaims,
False strength.
He sucks away and steals every last item you've gathered on your journey, and now they're within his hands to exploit. The tables have turned. But to us,
Okay.
it's clear.
Okay. I am telling you right now, this is like not that bad. I'm being so dead ass. You could sit behind like you just sit behind one of the walls. There's
It's taking
literally
everything
a room.
he has to stay standing.
There's literally
Mithrix
a
is
like a ramp
already weak.
that you can just like the indomitable human spirit. There's literally like a
Occasionally, he
ramp
will
that you
kneel
can
and-
like camp on
and
that
punch
he
the
can't
ground,
come up to.
releasing several orbs across the arena, losing what little life
There. You can literally camp there.
he
and,
has
like,
remaining
not
and
take
items upon
damage.
doing so. The more you damage him, the more items you get back. Until eventually, he falls.
Brother, help me. This plane grows dark, brother. I cannot see you. Where are you? Brother, perhaps you will get it right next time.
Is there a next time? Let's be real. Now the moon's gonna
Even in
explode.
death, Mithrix still tries to sabotage your escape. The entire moon falls under siege from his last remaining power, and with his presence removed, enemies from the void begin to invade and also attempt to take you. To escape, the player returns to the ship they found at the beginning and uses it to fly off the moon, mere moments before it all goes to hell. Finally, we see a plant sprouting from the brother's fallen helmet, as he has become the genesis for lower life that he spent his entire existence despising.
Dang. And moon go boom. Just gone completely.
In a desperate effort to detain the survivor, the void swallows up the entire moon, and now both brothers have passed away. The final noteworthy event following this is a second message from Aurelianite received by an unknown ship the following year, detailing the creation of her offspring. Unlike her creators, she wishes for those she's created to be free and beautiful. She has grown to be better than those who made her. And, as of now, that is the end of the Risk of Rain timeline.
Oh my god. There's another.
It's not the end of our questions.
God.
We still have
Okay.
one last thing to talk about.
Oh goodness.
Deep. Deeper. Yet deeper. In this world, there's always a bigger fish, and appropriately, a bigger space for it to inhabit. The only way to find such places is to go deeper. Deeper into curiosity. Deeper into hubris. Deeper into the depths of creation. And what you may find are the ones who are able to thrive in the depths, those murky dimensions and stilled spaces. Those who lurk in the calm, dark abyss at the bottom of everything. And once you find them, it will only be too late. As you struggle against the void, you may find that every path you take just brings you deeper, deeper. Yet
Has this guy posted since this video or? Top comment. I'd be pissed too if I saw someone create wisps. Yeah, man, that was the last straw.
Deeper.
Honestly. The wisp, man.
throughout this video, I've been trying my best to stick to
what
a
the fuck,
chronological order for the
That's
sake of
not
telling
cool,
the
man.
story in a straightforward fashion. However, I omitted most details regarding the Void because I believe it is expansive enough to have warranted its own section, which is where we find ourselves now. But what even is the Void?
Oh, nothing Risk of Rain
Well,
related.
it seems to be some kind of
it
alternate
like a
dimension
lore
or
channel?
plane that runs parallel to ours, similar to the Red Plane, where the imps come from. The goal of the Void, as I mentioned very briefly earlier, is to capture and contain various things. These things can range from small creatures to valuable artifacts to entire planets. The Void's inhabitants closely resemble the creatures of our oceans, with all of them having crustacean-like appearances. The environments and structure of the Void also seem to emulate oceans, with certain areas being noticeably deeper within the Void than others. There are only a few locations we actually get to experience in-game, though. These are the Void Fields, Void Locus, Planetarium, and Simulacrum. During the few voyages to Petrichor, several humans
I can check
interacted
after
with the
this.
Void in one way or another. One person went through a portal out of curiosity and got trapped in the Void Locus. They were able to sustain themselves, at least for a while, off of the goo in the Void Cradles, and they also described seeing things come and go, ferried by giant beasts, which seem responsible for
Cool.
moving the many things the Void captures
Chefbot.
from place to place. But where these things actually end up, though, the person did not know. At some point, another found themselves lost in a different part of the Void, known as the
Yo,
Simulacrum.
Wungus.
The Simulacrum is a section of the Void dedicated to putting creatures through endless fighting and experiments.
This looks like that. This is the base, right? It's like just a
Fermentation,
replica of the
almost
base.
as if it was trying to evaluate the worth of the individual from its own twisted perspective. Each time
snow
you die,
base?
you simply wake up and repeat the process all over again. We have 2 accounts of people who were in the simulacrum. This is one of them.
I wake up again. The simulacrum continues forever. A million scenarios, a million permutations. It watches, calculating, recording, witnessing. We always
Have you
die.
played
We have died
Simulacrum?
millions of times, and
I
every time
don't know.
we are in the simulacrum.
I think I only have like
We've
20
escaped
hours.
once or twice.
I just
We
played
defeated
normal
it,
runs, I think.
saw it die,
I don't know.
chased it down through other worlds. We saw it collapse into a black hole. We got out, back to Earth.
I have fought. Wait, is Simulacrum the one with the Simulacrum ROR2? No, I have not. What I have fought is. Oh, it's in alternate game worlds. What I have done is I fought there's like squares. Your cubes on the ground. It's like a
Found a
different boss
crashed
than Mithrix though.
It was
That's
rough,
like
but
I fought that before.
we've done this scenario a few thousand times. We spent time together on Venus. We grew closer, got married, got old together. We had kids, a boy and a girl. Eric had leukemia. That was hard for us.
Large crab
Madeline?
boss? I don't know.
She
It kind of reminded me of like the Super Smash Bros. Boss with hands, you know. RR2 bosses. I guess like final bosses. Oh wait. Yeah, I think I beat the Alloyed Collective. Cuz the Alloyed Collective boss is the one. Yeah. Cuz I've been in this room before. Yeah, that's the one.
passed in her sleep. I followed on my own accord. I was satisfied. But then I woke up again. In the simulacrum. It never happened. I was always in the simulacrum. Madeline was from the simulacrum, too. I think it liked that. Am I still here?
That's crazy.
Another person.
So it's like Salvia, where you live a whole ass life on Salvia, and then
A
you come
random
back to
commando.
realization. It's only been like a half an hour.
on a mission
That's
was also
crazy.
taken and placed into the simulacrum. After a long while, they physically mutated, becoming one with his weapons and
Whoa.
armor and transforming into the Void Fiend. His lore entry tells us both about his experience and also the Void's true goal in using the simulacrum.
Darkness shrouding darkness. Echoes from futures past and past futures and places and times eking out from between cracks in reality. A suffocating prison of the mind and soul, occupied by beasts poking and prodding at your spirit forever, forever testing you, forever tempting you, iteration after iteration. They've run laps through the brain, crawled every last synapse from memories and data, weapons to use against theoretical armies with more resilient hearts and evasive bodies. Chittering and clacking, they can be heard watching from beyond the cell, no longer interested,
I
but
have to say
still
the voice effects are
patrolling the
pretty good.
grounds. Here in this purgatory, there is no hunger and no thirst. All that remains are the echoes. How long has it been? Time seems to warp in and out around breath circulating with the darkness, all-consuming, starts to drown alveoli and flood inky black veins. Memories trespassing into reality as reality fades into the distant past. Silence broken only by the sound of watching eyes.
Shake the bars.
Twisting and contorting, engulfed in fear and becoming the embodiment. Reborn like some sick prophecy, arms and legs like new corpses on the seabed. No longer suppressed.
Hunger. Thirst.
Hope.
This entry tells us that the simulacrum's purpose is to educate whatever's controlling the void on a practically infinite amount of combat scenarios so that they can more effectively capture celestial bodies and everything on them. This explains why Petrichor is described as the one planet they couldn't take. They are so proficient at war due to their simulations that only a literal god could have prevented them from taking any given planet, which is exactly what happened, at least until the survivor killed Providence. This also explains why the Void Reavers show up on the moon.
Loki, the bad guy, is the survivor. The player is the bad guy, because you kill both gods. One of them has been trapped on the moon. The other one has been saving lives of creatures and keeping the planet safe from the void. Yeah, we're the bad guys.
After you kill Mithrix, some random human was able to overcome an obstacle that the Void themselves couldn't. Of course they'd try to take you to the simulacrum. It also seems like the Void is capable of feeding off of the memories of those it captures, calling through the brain for every bit of data it can get. This would explain why the simulacrum in-game consists of broken segments of existing stages on Petrichor. It can simulate whatever was seen by the person, but it cannot replicate it perfectly since it has, to this day, failed to capture the planet in its entirety. We know the Void eventually lost interest in this commando, but eventually he was able to break free from the simulation. We don't know how, and it's a feat I'm sure those guarding it considered impossible. The main points of evidence for this jailbreak occurring are the lore entry for the survivor, Acrid, and of course, the fact that the Void Fiend is a playable character to begin with. With regards to Acrid's lore, though, it's genuinely pretty interesting.
Theoretically, the true contents of this cell were just a mess of atoms. The structure of the contents in each cell, living, weapon, whatever, was categorized, sequenced, and then turned to juice, and cured into solid gems. An incredibly efficient and lossless format. And yet, when the cell containment broke and emergency protocols resequenced that mess of atoms back into the creature known as Acrid, he already knew. Maybe he was somehow conscious in his juice gem state, maybe they injected him with information, maybe he was connected to their psionic network, maybe he just made it up, but he knew that the strange crustaceans that scrambled his atoms and imprisoned him there in a place unknown were panicking. Something had gone wrong in a world where variables were not allowed. Something was leaking. They may have finally imprisoned something that could not be contained.
Acrid.
The cells that are referred to in this log are present in abundance within the void fields, which is likely where Acrid might have been kept. These cells were the preferred method of storage for the void, and they were used for everything. The fields themselves are quite easy to access, being at the bottom of the empty tide pool that makes up the bazaar between time. Funnily enough, evidence of a past struggle with Void Reavers is seen around the portal, which may imply that they attempted to capture the newt but failed in doing so, leaving a long-standing portal to the Void Fields in the wake of their failure. In-game, the Void Fields act as a place to gather more items while time is stopped. The majority of the stage is filled with void fog, with only small pockets around the cells offering any safety from the miasma. When you interact with the cells, waves of random enemies equipped with random items are released from the cells and sent at you. Upon completing all 9 cells, the void fog lifts. Perhaps it being there to begin with was a security measure, or maybe an emergency response to the Void Fiend and Acrid escaping. We don't really know for sure. All of this considered, we currently still don't know what drives the Void to capture all of these things. All of the Void creatures have a specific purpose that forwards the Void's goal. The Jailers, Reavers, and Devastators all have methods of detaining anyone caught in their implosions, and will otherwise wreak havoc by being present. The Void Infestors turn local life over to the side of the Void, and the Void Barnacles, they almost seem to force a kind of propaganda in favor of the Void, which is recorded in their lore entry. With how organized and successful their efforts are, it feels like they must have a leader.
got rid of it. It was too massive, with too much weight. It took up too much room and was too dangerous. We tried to massage it into its surroundings. We felt we had captured its essence well enough, but its words beat into our minds, and we weren't allowed to realize that it had been keeping us here.
The void is very
We had begun
ocean
spending
themed.
all our days staring at it until it became formless to
I've
us.
noticed that.
Whispers of meaning with no words
I think they also
traveled
mentioned
through our
it.
ears and strung us up like a necklace of fools. Totally mesmerized, we sat around it like a campfire as it cultivated each of us with its cold embrace. One by one we were scanned, and we were made to present all we had with us. Feathers from local species, masks from strange spirits, abandoned metal scraps, and rusty old equipment.
Fungus to make the wungus.
It examined each individually, its iris flexing mechanically as it traced the silhouette of every artifact. For a moment, I snapped out of it. I felt fear.
That's the void
I wanted
boss
to
log.
scream out, to raise my weapon, but my body was wholly resistant. Suddenly, the others all turned their heads to face me from across the circle, their eyes wide and faces expressionless. I felt a sharp pain in my chest and my neck stiffened. After its final scan, it vibrated out of existence, its atoms disseminating into the air. We were left frozen husks around a campfire, long since turned to ash. We almost
the heck?
got rid of it.
If the player manages to access the Void Locust, they'll find that it functions similarly to Commencement and has 4 beacons known as Deep Void Signals. Upon completing all 4 of them and fighting off hordes of Void enemies, a Deep Void portal appears at the top of the stage, which brings you to the planetarium. This
Cool.
is where the Void keeps hundreds upon hundreds of celestial bodies it's collected, and it's also where you'll find their collector, Voidling, Diviner of the Deep. It is the leader that we were looking for.
Big
like
spider.
any other boss in the
Crab.
game, the goal is of course to defeat the giant crustacean. During the first battle, the environment resembles any other area in the Void. However, when you deal enough damage, it flees through a portal, and you give chase. Every subsequent phase of the fight has arenas resembling areas of Petrichor. This showcases that the Voidling has already made plenty of progress in collecting data from Petrichor since Providence vanished, which we already knew. Unfortunately for it, neither God nor Eldritch Horror is safe for humans with a bunch of cool trinkets. So, once you finally defeat the Voidling, it floats into the air with a bright pink glow and explodes into nothing. Following its death,
What
a
happens
new
to the
portal
Void then?
appears. Most likely, one that would take you even deeper into the Void than we've ever seen. But we don't know for certain, because upon entering it, your fate is left unknown.
Oh wow. AKA lazy writing? No, I'm just kidding. I saw this earlier today. It was Ludwig. He was reacting to a Minecraft video. And he said, writing is writing is extremely easy to... It's a lot easier to leave questions than it is to answer them. And I have to agree with that.
And that's it. That is the entire lore of Risk of Rain, or at least my own interpretation of all the vague hints the games give us. I'm probably wrong about a lot of it, but that's okay. I had fun. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching this month-long project I put together for a game I only just started playing, but have already fallen in love with. Risk of Rain is genuinely something really special to me. But before I go, I actually have one last thing to show you, for real this time. I don't want to tell you what I think it means, when it takes place, or anything like that. I just want to read it. What it means is up to you.
I know
Okay.
you can hear me. I was willing to give you the benefit of the doubt at first. Perhaps there was a flaw in my design. Perhaps it was one of your games. I was even willing to forgive you. But no, I see the truth now. You trapped me on this forsaken rock. And for what? Is this all for your little pets? The creatures you love so much? Or can I even call it love when you would stab your only brother in the back? How could you do this to me? I, the only one who looked out for you after her death. I, the one who showed you how to create. I, who helped to create the very power you used to invite vermin and pests to our home. I, your only brother. How could you love those imperfect, flawed vermin, but not me? After all I've done for you. How could you do this to me? Say something.
Damn. Oh, chills, chills, chills. Excellent video. Excellent video. Wow. That was an experience. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you for showing me that. That was very Yeah, that is a really good. I like the way that it was placed too at the very end. He could have easily put it at the end of like the lore section or like the Risk of Rain section, like when Mithrix dies, but he waited till the very end. I mean, it just, begs the question, was Providence deaf? Or could he hear him the whole time? Like, was he electing to ignore, or was he simply unable, Like, maybe he could never hear, like, the whole, maybe he could never hear him caring, Dang. Wow. Risk of Rain lore, everyone. There we go.